Hello everybody, and welcome to another Valheim video. This is a test live stream, so I'm pretty much talking to nobody at the moment, but some of you will see this video later on. And I have tried to adjust the settings and get used to something, and I realized before I actually start doing this live stream series, which I'll explain to you soon, I need to actually make sure that all of this is even possible in the first place. So, basically, my idea, I'll explain it, but first, let's go to the center of the world. Oops, sorry. I've been working on Path of Magic, alongside with a bunch of other cool playtesters and people who've been helping me understand all of these new features. If you don't know, basically, Valheim has changed. The modding scene has changed because now it's possible for a lot of mods to be completely server-side, meaning that people with vanilla Valheim can join a server and play. And as you notice, like if I look at the chat here, we can see that we have all these messages. These aren't from players, these are from the server. And these are like kind of demonstrational, so it's not like it's always going to be like this. But you can see there's a moon and then like a sun with clouds and then a description of what players are doing. Like in this case, someone is using a knife and they're in the plains, then they were using a knife in the Black Forest, and then Odin spawned, and now they're using a cultivator in the plains. So we all know what's going on, and this is because of Expand World Prefabs. And Expand World Prefabs, well, that's what this Path of Magic thing is. So let me tell you more about Path of Magic by showing you, and also understand this is like a test video. I'm gonna watch this later and then see if this was a good enough quality. Oh, what's up? It's good to see some Arena World people here. I'm assuming this is Ray. How you doing? Thanks for checking the stream out. So, mostly, I was under the impression that I couldn't stream at all. And I realized, you know, it's not that I can't stream, it's that I can't stream in like 1080p with like 60 frames and all this stuff. So I just lowered my standards a lot. And I'm gonna just roll with it and do what I can, because realistically, I can't do much else. So now I'll kind of explain what this is, because I'm starting a live stream series that's me playing Path of Magic, and I'm going to, as I do each live stream, invite people in the community to also play. So pretty much there's some context though people need to understand about the path, right? As I mentioned, it's a very, very heavily scripted server, so things are very different here, and I can't even start to cover all of the features. Like there's no boss stone progression. As you can see, you just join. Like, there's just a path. And that's basically the whole thing. You follow the path and try to progress. There's no portals or anything else, right? So if we keep going down, I'll just skip through this area a little bit. We get to sort of what's referred to here as the town meadows. And in the town meadows, you can learn a little bit about the different features, like there's all these rune stones that tell you if you read them. You can then learn how the feature on Palm works, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of mechanical changes to the gameplay on Path of Magic. So if you want to, you can read about that here. This sort of serves as an area to introduce players to the game a little bit, but then they could also go on. And there's basically this path that continues all the way through the entirety of the world. All the biomes, ashlands, everything. But you go down the path and you start on Palm by looking for a spot to make a base, or maybe using one of these areas, these communal areas, right? These are areas that other players have made over time. And so you're free to like hang out in them and use them in the beginning. Pretty much everything you find on Palm is a communal base. So people tend to join, and then you sort of find a place to chill for a bit that's safe, and then get your orientation, so to speak, figure out what's going on. And then you'll be able to move on and look for your own place to build, let's say, like a house or something. Typically, people kind of explore in the beginning using communal bases, but then they'll look for something to build. And on Path of Magic, you're free to build anywhere. Like, I don't really restrict people, but I try and space things apart. As you can see, if you noticed earlier, there are these sort of allotments, right? So here's an empty one right here. And if we keep looking around, we're bound to find some more of them. If we just keep going around. Here's one that's occupied. So you'll find that the Path of Magic meadow and these surrounding black forests of this area on the starting continent have loads and loads of these different allotments. I think there's like 50 of them. And you don't have to make a base in these, but the idea is that we kind of help players space themselves apart from each other a bit. That way it reduces lag, because pretty much... Well, what I learned from before is that if you have a town, all the players congregate in the town and they like fill it all up and make it look like a town with alleys, and they stuff houses in between houses, and then before you know it, everybody runs around at 8 frames per second and it becomes a dead zone that nobody can play in. So you have to sort of stop people from doing that. And I found that just by suggesting different places and making it so that people don't congregate too much in one place, that's usually an easier way to manage it. And that's usually how people progress on Palm. So if we actually go over here, as I mentioned, there is no boss progression like in normal Valheim. So if we go up here, we can see the example of that. So instead of killing the boss, you could try to, but they just gank you. Bosses on Palm are like end game things. You need magic and a bunch of good food. There's something designed to do with like a group of people once you've progressed. You literally can't kill them in the beginning with beginning gear. There's time limits and all sorts of other crazy mechanics. Don't even try, I'm warning you. So what you do instead is you go over here and there's this chest called Eek's Chest. And then there's this runestone. You can read the runestone and see that it says, a better path, respect these meadows, lorry stuff, yes, yes, yes. Essentially, it says we need to get 1 boar trophy, 1 pile of flint, and 1 neck trophy. So that's the true beginning of Palm. You don't fight Eek. Instead, you go get some safety, and then you accumulate a boar trophy, a neck trophy, and a pile of flint. Once you have all these things, you come back to this chest. But you have to make sure you put it in the right order, so let's check. It says from left to right, boar, flint, neck. So, let's do that. Open the chest, boar, flint, neck. And then we close the chest, and then boom. Lightning strikes, and we now have the hard antler. And that's the basics of Palm. If you understand that, then you get how a player progresses through Path of Magic. It's not like normal Valheim. You don't go and fight the bosses. That's a later on thing. Instead, there's these sort of quests, and it's all server-side. So anybody can just join and try this out. You don't need to install any mods, although there are some networking things I recommend you do, and some quality of life stuff that really makes the Valheim experience good for everybody. So I'm not saying you shouldn't use mods. I'm just telling you, you can log in and have this experience with no mods. And unfortunately, this server is not crossplay, so you have to have a PC. But this stuff that you're seeing and what I'm going to be showing in this sort of live stream Let's Play series is that there's this whole new world, and you're going to regularly see things watching this that it's like Valheim doesn't do that, but it's not from a client mod, and it's something anybody can experience. It's absolutely incredible. And all that server stuff aside and everything, like, if you like Valheim and you like building, for me, making Expand World prefab scripts was like a way that I can take everything Valheim did that I love and sort of work with that. And also, instead of complaining about the things they did that I don't like, I just change them. Like, it's fine. I don't need to. I love Iron Gate. They did some things that have enabled me to see that those things were probably bad ideas. But we can only see that in hindsight. We can only look back and see it. So every time I suggest something or show you something that's different, keep in mind that, like, I do these things because I believe in making a better Valheim experience from my perspective. And the people who like this kind of game. I'm not saying that, like, Iron Gate needs to make the game like this. I think I'm better than them. Really, like, I respect Iron Gate, and the fact that they gave us this game for $20 is amazing, because it's allowed us to do all sorts of really awesome stuff. So, that's that. I've explained sort of my motive and what's going on with Palm. So, you'll join the server and you can progress that way, but as you would imagine, the boss chests, these things, they get progressively harder. And this one is really easy. Like, you could just get a pile of flint and one boar trophy, one neck trophy. That doesn't take that long. But as you keep going, it gets much tougher. And the whole path is just one thing. So you can sail in Palm. It's not like you can't sail. But I've made it so that instead of just having no portals, which, let's be real, is really harsh, this is a path that just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And it has special places alongside. So here's where I'll get into my plan for the story, so to speak, of the live stream series, because I'm going to start Let's Play. This is a test live stream right now. And I'm, like, flying around and using Devcommands and stuff, right? But in the actual one, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be, like, a normal player starting from the beginning of my Path of Magic journey. And in doing that, I'm going to playtest a lot of the features that we've been developing, which is going to allow me to show all of you the features in a more real way. Instead of just telling you about stuff, I can show them in live streams, which is going to be way easier. And then after that, I'll be able to also make content about the things that come up during the live streams. And as you can see, Path of Magic is clearly, like, different. I mean, there's a trader on the path without any sailing, and you're actually going to see multiple other traders. So this server has many bog witches, multiple traders, multiple hilders. You don't have to worry about just going to one on a no map, no portal world, which is sort of extreme, to be honest. I love no map, no portal because of having a path, but I don't know if I could honestly recommend no map, no portal without, like, someone managing a path for you, because it's just so much better that way, and it helps guide the player movement and predict them. So we can see that we have traveled far enough, right? You saw a bunch of trolls. There's some dangerous stuff in that forest, and as you can see, there's ghosts and wraiths. Like, things are more dangerous than you're used to, and you'll find monsters where you've never seen that kind of monster before. And the whole point is that I personally played a lot of Valheim, and I found that it became too predictable. So yes, there was more of the world to explore, but I didn't care, because I knew what the Black Forest looked like. I knew what the mountains looked like. It was kind of cool seeing when, like, there's two spawners next to each other, or, like, there's a border of plains and meadows, you know. But once you've seen all these different things, base Valheim doesn't have that much variety left to offer for your exploration. It doesn't really keep you wondering what could happen. So pretty much with Path of Magic, the mentality, like, the whole time has been, how do I make this unpredictable? But not in, like, a way that feels bad, like in a way that's fun, that you can reliably go out and something surprising will happen to you. That's basically been the mentality. So we've progressed along the path here, and you can see that we are at the Elder Altar, where we have a familiar sight. We have our Elder's Chest, and we have our runestone. Now it's gotten a lot further along in complexity, though. As you can see that we now need, let's see, 2 piles of bone, 20 wolf fangs, and then 2 more piles of bone. So that's 5 stacks worth of stuff in order to get the crypt key. And it means you have to kill wolves. Yeah, you know, it's not that many fangs, but you still have to kill wolves. So it's not like these chests are all just super easy. The idea is that you get the chests while. How do I put it? The chests make you do sort of multiple things in the biome or go into the dungeons in the biome. That's the idea, that we use the chests and we require things that make the players go into places that are more fun or interesting or the highlights of the biome. Path of Magic has a lot of changes into dungeons in particular to make them different and to make it so that you see things that surprise you. Like on Path of Magic, you can get silver and copper and all these things inside the mountain caves. There's situations where certain things spawn in places you wouldn't expect. And so that enables players to have different ways to do things. Ah, hello, Sir Deck. I see that you commented something. I bear with me here because I'm borrowing a monitor so I can practice this streaming thing. So I see you said, for me, playing Immersive Plus Hardcore World, it's hard, but also rewarding. And you found your trader. Oh, you got the trader? That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, respect to you for hardcore, honestly. I do not have the balls for that. I can actually show you. This is the character that I played on before I got into Expand World Prefabs. So if I disable the map, or if I re-enable the map, and I show you, yeah, so hardcore, I mean, I don't know if I could do that, to be honest. Like, you can literally tell everywhere I played by, can you tell where the path is? Like, I didn't die here. That's kind of funny. The path is actually here, so it looks, this part's really safe. You can see all of these areas where, yeah, I didn't do hardcore very well, as you can see. But this is actually the character I originally played on here, and then I got super into Expand World Prefabs, and I completely stopped playing Valheim normally. So I've actually been itching to just like play a character regularly, because I find that while it's great to develop things, I also need to like step out of that mentality and actually play the game so that I can get a fresher sense of what I should be working on and what is actually relevant. I find that the best ideas come from when you're actually doing something and playing, right? Instead of just theorizing. Also, conversations with people when you don't ask them directly. I found that, like, when I ask people directly for ideas, it doesn't really work. But if I ask people, like, what problems they have, then they tell me, and then I can make something in response to that. And that works really well. People are really able to share the problems that they have. So sometimes it's just about rephrasing things, right? But as you can see, to get back to the path progression, players would have to go out into the Black Forest, they would have to fight a bunch of skeletons, and also they would have to do some other stuff. So this is, I guess the game is forcing me to tell you about how raids work on Path of Magic. So I have ghost mode on right now, so nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm in like a super mode, right? But for all of the other players, if they're near a trophy, that trophy can summon a raid on you. But aside from that, you don't get raids. So if you'll notice, like, I just triggered this raid, but I'm at the boss altar. I'm not, like, somewhere else. I'm not in a base, so why is there a raid here? And that must mean that somewhere nearby, there is an item stand with a Grey Dwarf trophy on it. I don't know where it is, but I know it must be here somewhere. So let's see. Objects, list, item rack, item stands, and then my current zone. No, maybe it's a zone away. Max distance 2. Oh, we got a bunch of them. And we are at, where are we? We're at negative 650, 1866. So, it's probably this one. Negative 687. Go to negative 687. And then, what was the other part? 18. So, 1832. 1832. Oh, I forgot the negative. Oh, classic. Can you tell I do this a lot? I definitely, I'm looking forward to playing like a normal person. I hate seeing the portal screen. I really don't enjoy doing dev commands and all this stuff. There it is! There it is! You see it? We caught it puffing too. The little devil. That is how we got a raid. And that's how raids work on Palm. I didn't actually plan that at all, but they don't happen at all the way they normally do. It doesn't care about your base progression. If this was a charred trophy, it would be a charred raid. It's simplified. That's it. So this way, I can trap players or myself by just placing these item stands in different places, right? But additionally, players can create whole new mechanisms. They can create arenas where they summon different kinds of monsters. And this is actually something that people have started to do on Path of Magic. In particularly, the skeleton and goblin raids seem to be fairly popular as things to respawn and farm the resources of. The adventurous gamer says hello. Hello. I just saw your message. And Surdek says, ideas are hard to come by. They certainly can be. That raid mechanic is pretty cool. Can easily troll friends. Yes, yeah, I mean, yeah, troll. You see that? And now I'm getting the ground is shaking. So obviously, there is a troll head somewhere here. And I actually remember doing that because I did it while I was setting up the Elder fight because it was too easy. But then the players kept destroying the monsters over and over and over again, and it was still too easy. So I stopped relying on the trophies, and now the Elder just always has a troll ground is shaking event. But I don't want to get too distracted, so let's see. We need to have 200 bone fragments, is that right? I think so. Ah, but yeah, the goblins steal bone fragments. 1 second. Okay, so this will be trippy. I won't really explain it, but they didn't steal any. Alright, we're good. Now we need wolf fangs. Spawn wolf fang. Okay. I did not need all of this. Ah, yeah, here's another mechanic. So on Palm, players get the... Oh, before I do that, I'm getting ahead of myself. 1 second. Yeah, 14. There we go. Now I have all 20. So on Palm, players can cast remove drops by typing say and then clear. And see, it removes all the drops. Normally that's an admin thing, but on Palm you can just get rid of the loose items on the floor really quickly. I find that there's a lot of stuff like this that a lot of server managers are sort of... I have to... 1 second. I have to deal with a phone call. I have a delivery of Pinolio. So I will be right back. Yeah, that's the audio on. Haha, there we go. Let's see. Everything's good still? I think everything's good. Yeah, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I got a delivery of pinolillo, which is like a food that I basically live off of. Smokestack says, hello. I didn't see your message earlier. Apologies. But I'm back now. And I was explaining the elder mechanic. That's right, because I had just spawned everything that I needed, and I showed you all how on Path of Magic, I tend to give players more options than on other servers. So they could also say remove drops, right? In general, like, yeah, they could grief each other, destroying each other's stuff and removing it, like, whatever. I found that if I treat people well and basically give them a lot of options and make everything public, it seems to work really well. Like, it seems pretty normal on Palm for players to share things with each other and treat each other like, well, we haven't had that many problems, and it's been really cool. So, yeah, that's probably the last I'll say about that. It's a pretty communal mentality here, and I give people a lot of control. Like, people are allowed to just use mods as long as, like, my mentality is as long as you don't get in the way of other players' enjoyment, you're free to play how you want. I don't like it when people spawn resources, but ultimately, like, I can't stop you from respawning resources in another world and still allow everybody to just have mods. I would have to try and control everything, and I don't want to do that. So I just make it clear that, like, I like it when people can play in different ways. But also, if you're going to play, just make sure that, like, if you do things like you use speedy paths or you use plant everywhere, just be aware that if you do that around other players, they sometimes might not like it, right? So you just need to respect other players. As long as you do that and you don't really get in other people's way, I pretty much just let people do what they want. There's certain players who play and they, like, have speedy paths on and zoom through things, but that's how they want to play the game and they enjoy it. It makes the game a lot easier, but also makes them have more fun, and they don't get in anyone else's way. So I've just, it's opened my eyes, and I've seen that, yes, other people play differently. And if I try and only have people play in a certain way, I learn less as a game developer. So that's my general mentality. So let's move on, because I've stayed in the same place and not shared a whole bunch of mechanics, and that's kind of boring. We'll show the Elder Chest now. You got to put it in the right order. So if I were to do something weird here, it wouldn't work. But because I've made this, I kind of usually am able to figure it out. Boom, we can do that. And now, there we go. We have the Elder Key. But apparently not just the Elder Key. We also got some other bonuses. Some pretty good food, some iron, enough iron to make a stone cutter, which is the whole point, and also a bronze spear. Without realizing this, this is actually the perfect introduction to all of these Expand World Prefabs changes. Because spears on Path of Magic are also completely different. Yeah, spears are basically magic spells. All of the spears are a different kind of spell. So the bronze spear, when I throw it, it will... Oh, I got unlucky. It exploded. But normally that doesn't happen. Normally it heals you and it helps you out. So you can use it and eventually it'll explode. So you sort of have to have multiple of them. The whole idea is to make spears actually useful. So the bronze spear does some healing, flint spear does some, like, minor healing and some stamina. Some of the other spears give a bubble shield. And then I think the carapace spear, it does like a huge heal and a huge stamina heal. So you can actually just, like, run out of stamina, throw your spear at the ground, gain all your stamina back, and use that as a mechanism to just continuously run down the path and just keep replenishing your stamina by using spears. I threw away my spear. I guess I could just make another one, so spear, bronze. I'll make like 5. Oh god, what have I done? Yeah, so every time the spear gets thrown or dropped, it tries to cast the spell. So I spawned 4 of them, but I spawned 5 of them, but I only have 4, right? And so what happens, you throw it, and then boom, that was a success. It cast the spell. So let's show you what that looks like. Gotta use up all of my stamina here. Ah yeah, I can jump. There we go. Okay. So now I can keep running. I can throw the spear. Oh, I lagged out. Tragic. But normally you can keep running, throw the spear, and then you'll get healed. But I just realized it's not actually the bronze spear that does that, is it? It's the other one. Spawn the flint spear? I don't remember which one it is. Or maybe it's because I have ghost mode on. Yeah, I think that might be it. Let's see. No, I'm not gaining... Oh, did I gain some stamina there? Nah, it looks like nothing's happening. Maybe it's my health. Let's see. See, I've made so many of these mechanics, I don't even remember what they do. Spawn... Grey Dwarf Elite. Alright, let's see. Am I gonna get healed now? Yeah, that's what the bronze spear does. I remember now. So see, we can keep tossing it at this guy. Right? And when you're laggy, obviously, as you can see, it doesn't work as well. Because I'm also streaming, I'm like more laggy than normal. But that spear actually exploded. But even when they explode, you still get the benefit of the spell. So we can see that that spear throw fully healed us. And this mechanic just allows us to actually use the spears. A lot of people don't end up using them as much, and they don't end up throwing them out of fear of losing them. But this way you can use spears a lot, and I think that it works out pretty well. Alright, so you've seen how one progresses through Path of Magic, and that's the premise of it. You just keep going down the path, and the further you travel, the harder it gets. And because it's no map, no portal, like, yeah, these areas are easy. As you can see, there's buildings, there's some bases. This area is fairly populated. But the further you travel down the path, the more dangerous it gets. And this path goes on and on and on and on. It is something that would have been impossible to make without things like Plan Build and Infinity Hammer. I could get into all of the logic behind the path, but I found that when managing other players, the gameplay experience is more enriching when the paths are already built. Because the act of building the path takes so long, especially building bridges and other things, that it burns people out and then they don't end up like actually playing. So instead, it's better to give them predefined pathways, and then they build things off to the side, they make little side bases, they do all sorts of stuff like that. And as you can see here, by just going down the path, you get access to all these different biomes without having to start doing any kind of sailing and getting lost. Because normally, it's like this. There's no map. I'm just in like development mode, so I use the map to like look at everything. But in the actual playthroughs and for the players, it's no map. So it's really easy to get lost. And that's why having the path... yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in the ocean. Try not to worry too much about it. You gotta focus. Having the path, it really helps sort of guide players in a more predictable manner. And so as you can see, when you give players places that are safe to build checkpoints, they naturally will build them there. Whereas when you have no portal, or when you have portals, they just go wherever they want. They're like uncontrollable. And in that way, it's sort of boring, because normally without portals, players are like water. They go down a hill, down the path of least resistance. But with portals, I don't even know what to compare them to. They're insane. It's so different. They just show up everywhere, all over the place. So it's much harder to like game design around them. Whereas in this case, like, this path is the main feature. It's pretty easy to get used to the fact that your progression is like the amount of the path that you've explored. And it's so long that the more you go down, it's like more and more you're likely to die or get distracted by something and go off and find some other place to be. Like, just for reference, so far this is like maybe 1/8 of the path, something like that. So I mean, we're past the part of the game that people normally play, but there's still loads more content. And that was just like a mistake, to be honest. I don't mean a mistake. I mean an accident. A lot of the features on Palm started like when Ashlands came out, and I was sort of designing for Ashlands stuff. But then it turned out that people don't really want to play Ashlands stuff, and they actually play the first part of the game a lot more. So I was like, well, I may as well focus on that area. But by that point, I'd done a lot of other work, so I guess it works out because now there's a whole path that goes into a whole different area. As you can see, this is sort of the main, how do I put it? All right, monologue time. You know how in like RPGs, let's say like Chrono Trigger, any kind of game like that, there's the point where it's linear and it goes a certain direction, but then it branches out and you have a lot more options. Well, Palm is kind of like that. There is just the main path, and you can just go down that. But in the beginning, there's those first couple biomes and those boss chests. But by the time you get over here, you're really branching into the much more dangerous territory. Like, from this point on, you have Seekers, Mistlands, Plains, Goblins. This is absolutely not like Black Forests and Meadows and Swamps. So the earlier part of this game is where I would anticipate most people would play, but then if they're really interested, they basically make it past this point. Because once you're past this point, like, I mean, as you saw, I mean, like, I've been flying over here, right? And it still has taken me some time. So this is sort of like a checkpoint for players. Let's see. Oh, Jake in the Bushes, someone who has played on Palm, is in the live chat. That's awesome. They say, I'm gonna never make it out the Black Forest. I saw my body. We will get there someday, adventurers. Ah, that's right. So Jake played recently and died somewhere in probably a very unfair way. If I remember right, it was some kind of extra mobs, maybe some archers somewhere. You know, archers are horrible, honestly. Like, when I played on JP Valheim before all of these features, just playing with the harder hitting enemies is genuinely challenging. Like, genuinely challenging. So, let me take a step back here. And feel free to ask any questions, by the way. Like, the whole point of this video, like, what I'm testing out to see if I can actually maintain a stream. And it seems like I can, as long as I had the settings kind of lower and everything. And it worked out. I'm talking. YouTube says the connection's okay. So I think everything's alright. And I now know that I can do that. So I'll kind of explain more about the format of the live stream series, because I'm going to be playing. Ah, Pan! Hello. So Pan said something in the chat, and he's also a player on the server, Aki. He's actually played a lot of Palm as well. He played on one character, did a bunch, and Aki is a new character. So there's quite a few people who have, let's say a couple hundred deaths under their belt. Palm veterans. But the idea with this live stream, as I mentioned, that looks cool. There's so many buildings in these things that didn't used to be there. I remember I just stayed up late one night and I was like, what if I make all these little plots with their fences? That one's really cool though. So I think Teens made that. Teens, Star, Alex, these are some of the regular builders. Oh, someone had a tragedy here. What's this? Looks like it's another chance to point out a mechanic on Palm. So you can see that there is a shaman up here. I'm not sure how the shaman got up here, to be honest. That seems a little weird to me. Oh no, I know how they got up. We'll just let everyone figure that out later. But for now, when you die in Palm, you don't just make a normal Valheim gravestone. You also leave sort of a record that you died here. Once Aragon comes back and loots his body, then this record will remain. And it's quite simple. It's actually just some signs below and some bones for flavor. And the signs project this image up here. So I love this. It like kind of shows where the dangerous areas are, and with the playtesters in certain areas, it just like, I really love that feature, to be honest. It was really fun to make. So we'll just keep going down here. As you can see, this is like heavy goblins, plains, fighting areas. There's a vacant plot there for someone who really likes goblins. And then we keep going. And here, I got here too quickly. But here we have the sort of end of this part of the path. And so we get rewarded, so to speak, with access to Hilder and the trader. But this is just so that they're kind of more convenient. As I mentioned, it's no map, which is absolutely bonkers insane. So having one trader is kind of frustrating. So I've had many, and there's ways that you can trade and a whole bunch of other mechanics. Let's see, Surdax says, the stream is fine, there is a buffer here and there, and bitrate drops once in a while. Other than that, it's working well. Hey, that is awesome. Honestly, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just surprised it works. Like, I tried to stream a couple years ago, and I didn't have a good enough internet connection, and like OBS told me it wasn't working, if that makes sense. It was flashing red and like no, and the stream was super jittery. So it looks like it's definitely possible. I can't really make a stream about like the highest quality, but that's not really my thing anyway, and I have this EWP server to show people, and it's free to play, and I want to make more videos talking about how all this works and inspiring other people. So it seems like the logical thing to do, really, right? Because I can show this off, and it's going to give ideas. People can ask questions about how different things work. This is one, actually, a mechanic I fix. Let's see if I might be able to fix this in a reasonable amount of time. Let me see. 1 second. This is something called a builder's bell. And it was a safety mechanism for builders who want to be able to repel enemies. So I messed it up. So let me see if I can just open the data and reapply it. Fader's bell. What's that bell called again? Is it just called bell? I think it is just bell, right? Yeah, bell. Now we need to go into my data. Sorry, I'm looking at another screen, which you can't see, so it might mess the stream up a bit. And we're looking for... here it is. So this is going to be a bell. And there we go. Okay, apparently that was actually pretty quick. Now we're going to do data, load equals bell holder. Alright, now we can test it. Oh, I'm still in ghost mode. Oh, looks like it's not a builder's bell anymore. How did I actually... Whoa, what are those guys doing there? I'll have to fix this another time. I was hoping I could fix it quickly right now, but it seems I have to actually respawn that, and then I'd have to do sort of boring things. So I'll just explain that basically you get these bells, and then you can shoot them with an arrow, or you can hit them, and then it'll make it so that all the enemies run away, and then they disappear. But you don't get any of their loot. So that's the kind of trade-off. You make it safe, but you lose the loot, right? So let's see, if I go to Discord real quick, I can look for the builder's bell. I probably explained how to make a builder's bell at some point. Let's see. Go to Discord. A lot of Palm is like looking for something in Discord where someone explained it. Even for me, where I explained it in the past. Let's see. Builder's bell. How to remove a builder's bell. Here we go. Build 3 darkwood chairs within 1 meter of another. Oh my gosh, there we go. See, that's why I knew it was just something simple. I just had to figure it out. Alright, so where are the darkwood chairs? They're in furniture and here. So I think we go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there we go. Now that's what it's supposed to do. And you see how the skeleton, like, that's so cute. He ran off into the hallway. Oh, because there's a hole here. This isn't a very safe castle anymore. That's a great illusion, though. It looks very safe, like it really does. But that's it. You saw it actually working now. So let's try that again. Let's spawn some goblin. We'll spawn like 4 goblin. And then we're going to just punch the builder's bell. And then, look at that. They just run away. It's, oh, you're in trouble. Your friends just left you. They abandoned him. That's so sad. I guess that's life. Sometimes you're the goblin that falls in the stone and your pathfinding isn't strong enough to save you anymore. And so basically they get feared and then they disappear. And there's actually some armor sets that also have that mechanic. But we're just going to keep going because this is basically what the player would do. This area is kind of crazy, and as you've noticed, the whole area has been along the lines of sort of plains and goblins. So this is the point where that changes. All of this before is where the easiest access to goblins are. So if you want to build bases that are like in the plains around a lot of black metal and that sort of thing, well, that's where you got to go. Whereas if you want to go to the Mistlands and other stuff, then you keep going down here. This actually is like a big dock with a checkpoint. So if we keep going forward, it'll eventually load in. And this is one of the communal dock houses that is like set up for people to, like, once they've made it past everything else, this is like a major checkpoint. You can make your way here. And once you make your way here, you're then safe to then move forward. I say safe, well, there's one of my previous dead bodies in the base, but ignore that. You probably didn't notice it. So it's totally safe. I swear it's mostly safe. And you would end up being able to then respawn if you die. And Path of Magic is sort of all about going further down the path and making it to these checkpoints, and then kind of figuring out what you feel interested in and what you want to do. So let's see. I'll read another comment. 1 second. Let's see. So Surdek said, "No map is insane." Scoffs in getting lost in the Black Forest for 2. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? The people who like no map, they find like an adventure or enjoyment out of getting lost. It's like a journey, right? Whereas other people are in more of a hurry, and that's fine. Like I when I talk about Portals, I don't want to come off as like it's a shit game if you play with Portals. But in all politeness, Valheim, if you have the time, it's a much deeper game. When things take longer, you have to anticipate moving cargo around, and you're able to use things like Expand World Prefabs to add different situations into the mix when you feel that something really should be different. We now have all the freedom to do that, and it's really an enriching way to play, to be honest. I found it to be quite enjoyable. So people would get to this point in the path, and this is where the storyline of the live stream will start to be more relevant. Because basically, up until this point, there are lots of checkpoints and bases, and it is harder, but because of all of the checkpoints and things along the bases and all of this craziness that people have done before, really incredible work. A lot of players have built like remarkable things and structures, but it eventually sort of stops, and we're about to get to the end of it. This is another base area that's heavily built out. But once you get to this area, known by players as the Arc, referring specifically to this area here, this is the Arc. Once you get to this area, this is sort of one of the last heavily built out places. Now moving forward, it's a lot of path and danger without a lot of checkpoints and that sort of thing. So on the live stream, the idea is that I take my time progressing down this path, and I basically look for areas that I feel could use another checkpoint or a base to make it easier to travel by. And then I build something. And then I move further along the path, find something, build it. That's the general gist of what I'm going to go for to sort of explain my progression. Because obviously, like right now, I'm like flying over everything, showing you the whole path. This is just for more mechanics. This is just so that people kind of know a bit about Palm. You can watch this live stream if you want to learn about the Path of Magic, see the entirety of the path, because I will go all the way to the end, and that sort of thing. And then you're going to have a better sense. I love this base, by the way. It's my favorite base because it's so easy to just pass it. I think Bal made it. I don't remember who made it. But basically, you go in through this little tunnel. Don't mind all this nonsense going on. But you go in through this tunnel, and then there is actual safety, and nothing can get you down here. But if you don't know that it's in here, then you're not as safe, right? So I thought that was a really cool little spot. And that's basically what I want to do. You see how there's these things? These all used to be empty spots. So that is a checkpoint, right? But now we're getting into the notorious Mistlands stretch, which is a long advance of path that has no basis. So part of the playthrough, when I do it, will be probably finding like an area halfway through here and building something, maybe like something in some of these rocks, somewhere over here, that sort of thing. This actually looks like an ideal spot. See, it already touches an area. You can go off and explore. Because I want to get in some Mistlands exploration, to be honest. Especially with less mist. Like, some areas have the mist, but on Path of Magic, the mist is deeper. Basically, so there's two layers of Mistlands, one with less and one with more. But here we are, we keep going, and look at this. This is the same situation as before, except with the Queen. And there is actually a chest there, but because I've been traveling around flying, it hasn't loaded. So here it is. It's now showed up. We have the chest of the Queen, and the Queen is just absurdly expensive. You have to pay 12,000 gold, and then you get a Majestic Carapace, and some other stuff. But we can keep going, and that's the Mistlands stretch. And then this ends, and we have one of Teensy's bases, appropriately named Last Chance. This is a very interesting base, because it actually started, I think, by a place somebody made a character named Eric the Red, who sailed here, and then someone else found it and added to it, and then another person found it and added to it, and it's been reiterated many, 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 many times and has evolved. And now, lag aside from all of the instances, it is the last chance before the notorious... That boat isn't supposed to be that way, but I'm just going to keep going. It's the last chance before you get to the Ashlands stretch. So we can see here that we have some much more dangerous content. I'm going to give it a little minute here to load in. Looks like my client's kind of struggling. So basically, you have a really dangerous mountain here that has charred fortresses and frost caves that are like more challenging than normal. And then you have the end of the Mistlands, but as you can see, this now is the Ashlands. Like, we're actually in the Ashlands water. But on Path of Magic, you don't need to get a Drakkar to sail to the Ashlands. You can actually just travel all the way there on a path that's already built. This path's invincible. Now, once you do get to the Ashlands, it definitely gets more intense. But let me tell you something now, it doesn't end at the Ashlands. The path actually goes all the way through the Ashlands, and there's reasons for this. I guess I can explain them while we continue. I did some play testing and watched some players play the Ashlands experience on no map, no portal mode, and I can honestly tell you that it's not something that I would recommend. Basically, it becomes a war of attrition just being in the Ashlands. It's very, very devastating to be there. You run out of resources really quickly. It is absolutely horrendous. So I found that it was genuinely more fun to give players access to the Ashlands so that they can sort of retreat into safety more easily. This way, more people can experience the Ashlands danger without the reality of, like, if you die in the Ashlands on no map, no portal mode, and there's no path, like, that body's gone. It's a whole other adventure to go get it. Like, that's the whole thing. Whereas with a path, let's see, this will be a test. I'll turn off ghost mode and also turn off god mode. If this path is safe enough, I should be able to outrun this fallen Valkyrie. But as you can see, it's not always as simple as just getting there, because there's monsters, and less stuff was loading in because of the way I'm just running through everything and flying through. Normally it's not like that. But without the path, people just seemed too, like, frustrated, to be honest, with the Ashlands experience. Whereas with the path, it's like a lot easier for people to come here and have that experience. And I found it to be more fun, personally, because I did some Ashland stuff and I raided some forts. And yeah, I'm not a hardcore person, as you saw. Like, I've died a bunch, and I don't really want to change that. I enjoy dying a lot in Valheim, and I kind of just lean into that, right? But as you can see, you can pretty much just keep going and going and going. And eventually, you get to sort of the center of the Ashlands, which is an area called the Citadel. And first off, I apologize about the lag that is bound to be here because it's a bunch of stuff. And also, the shield generators were really loud. But this is the Citadel. It's basically a safe place inside the Ashlands where monsters aren't supposed to come and almost never come unless some... There's one situation where they came once, and yeah, that's a thing. But most of the time, it's a completely safe place. So the idea here is that it does get laggy, but by having these indestructible walls around the edge, and then in addition to that, we also have this kind of perimeter, and then in addition to that, we have this sort of dead zone here, where there's not much other stuff, right? Obviously, I need to fix the fishmongers because they're telling me about them when I'm nowhere near. But that's a whole other thing. The point is that this area has a big buffer zone, so that players have an area in the Ashlands that's safe. They can come here, they can build things out, use one of these existing bases. See, we have like a little... Someone's been going to town with the Ask Spin there. And this just, like, in my experience, it made Ashlands more accessible to people. And, like, they actually spent more time afterwards. Don't get me wrong, players didn't go there straight away. I had given up on it. But then eventually a bunch of people did go play in the Ashlands, and as you can see, over time, things change. But that is just the main base, so to speak. It's not actually the full entirety of the Ashlands path. But the Ashlands path is so extremely long that I'm not going to explain all of it. I'm just going to zip over it like this. Because you'll basically get the gist of it. It's designed so that players can experience the Ashlands content on no map, no portal mode without having the full intensity of it. And so that people can explore the Ashlands from up above. But as you can see, I still sort of make them dip down into the danger every now and then. So there are parts of the path that they have to make it through. And eventually, we will reach the end of the Ashlands. But this literally goes through the entire Ashlands. There's like 1 or 2 islands that it doesn't go to, but it's huge. So a lot of the features on Path of Magic are kind of designed that way. I wanted to make sure that, yes, I make efforts to bring the rest of the game to the early game. There's a lot of things you can do in the Black Forest on Path of Magic. You get Grouston, you can get Black Marble, you can buy Crystal, you can buy things from traders to build all sorts of things. You can even get Ashlands building materials just in Black Forest Swamp. If you know what you're doing and you get coins, you can purchase them from the Diverger traders. So I've made it so that as much as possible when related to building, the Ashlands has been brought to the players who stay in the meadows. But also, I've put a lot of effort into making the Ashlands itself more accessible to people, because I don't want to come across the wrong way. Earlier, I think the no map, no portal experience needs a path to really shine, but I love the Ashlands. Like, once I added the path, I really genuinely enjoyed the experience of, like, fighting the mobs and all of the gems, and oh gosh, this is just a trap waiting to happen. Oh, you see this nonsense? This is definitely gonna kill somebody. Oof. But there's just something about it, and the way that the warlike feeling and the utter lunacy of the place, like, I love it. Like, genuinely, I love it. I just find that it needs a little bit of aid so that players can experience the parts of it that shine and less of the parts that are just genuinely frustrating. Like, I get that the D-Day experience is interesting and it's fun to tell stories about it, but it ends, and then what? It's a war of attrition that results in you losing almost all the resources you brought, and you probably dying before you get down a portal, and then you get down a portal, but in order to explore the Ashlands, you have to use up a load of arrows and resources and food. So it's quite challenging. I don't know how it is in normal mode, but on very hard, and I mean almost certainly on hardcore, it must be even more like that. So we're actually getting closer to the end. As you can see, there's plenty of opportunities to grab, like, flame metal and all those sorts of things. But there's actually a mechanic at the very end, and that'll be another part of the stream. As I mentioned, the storyline, the progression of the stream, I'll be following the path, progressing my character, and also building different checkpoints. As you can see, this whole area, I mean, yeah, it needs more checkpoints. Bal has given us a couple of them, but we definitely need some more checkpoints. So we're going to be able to do that by going through and slowly adding them in the gameplay that I do on the live stream. And that way I'll be able to just show the Expand World prefab features instead of just talking about them, right? So, as I mentioned, The Ashland's path is so long. This isn't even the end of it. It's like there's still another bridge to another island. It's insanely long. And what's so cool about this is that it's basically like its own game. Because if you make the path long enough and without portals, like even if the player comes with their own gear and that kind of thing, it basically means there's a point on the path that their progression skill level is. And they'll get to that point and then they'll start having some trouble. So maybe if they're a really equipped player with magic and everything, they'll be able to make it all the way out here. But, I mean, I'm flying with Devcommands, right? Looks like that's a problem. Sometimes there must be... Ah, yes, there's the problem. So even flying with Devcommands, it takes a long time. And sometimes this happens. So I have to go locations, list, zone, max distance equals 1. And we should, in theory, see a charred stone spawner. And if we teleport to it, it should be the one we're right under. So 4921, 8312. And it is. This is the one we're under. So I need to fix this because, as you see, that whole chunk of the path is just gone. So I need to remove the location that is causing it to get destroyed in the reset schedule. Because Path of Magic has respawning dungeons, right? So I need to go... what is it? It's called a charred stone spawner. So locations, remove, charred stone spawner, zone max distance equals 1, force, start. Boom, there we go. Now we have actually removed the location, not just deleted it. And this means that I can rebuild the bridge at another point in time, and then it's not going to get deleted by the reset. But for now, let's just keep going. At this point, we're really close to the end. This actually is... Is that a Morgan cave? There must be like a spawner inside that rock, but I'll deal with that later. Now we're at the interesting part that I was trying to show you. Because Ashlands, that's Ashlands. But that's actually not the end of Path of Magic. There is a way to, let's say, beat Path of Magic, and I'm going to show you. Once we have progressed all the way through here in the Let's Play livestream series, we'll basically get to a whole new area after the Ashlands. And the point here is to bring every single trophy that is not a boss trophy. So that means on this page, all of these trophies that aren't boss trophies. That's how you beat Path of Magic. And I'll show you why. It's not that simple. It doesn't just end as soon as you get all the trophies. But basically, there's a whole area for the end game of Path of Magic. Or at least post Ashlands. Obviously, I don't know what's happening with Deep North. But we just keep going, and we're almost there. So here we go into, it's like a little respite island. Right now I just pathed here, and it's untouched black forest. I learned from personal experience that doesn't last long. People are going to destroy all these trees and build a bunch of crap here, and then there's going to be no more black forest. So, it's so lovely and peaceful, and it's such a dangerous area. Like, come on, you know, it's inevitable. You just keep going, though, and then you get to the actual proper area. I just showed you where I have a feeling some kind of safe settlement is going to form. But if we keep going here, we get to the actual beginning of the end game. And the end game on Palm is like a continent or an island. It's this. And here we have a basic magical place. If we fly around, we can see that there are these weird bell holder things. And if you know your Valheim trophies well, you'll recognize that this is the Wraith trophy. So, we've got a Wraith trophy ruin there. We look down this path, and there's more and more and more of these ruin things. Here we have a Volter trophy. And here we have a Wolf trophy. So, basically, you take one of each trophy in the game, and you bring it to this altar. And this is the Wolf altar, right? So let's get a Wolf trophy. Trophy, Wolf. Boom, we have our Wolf trophy. And now we just toss it at the altar, and then boom. We hear a bell noise, and a chat message says the Wolf trophy was consumed by the shrine. The Wolf trophy beacon lights up. That means the game now knows we activated the Wolf trophy beacon. You can now imagine how we could do this with every single trophy in the entire game that isn't a boss trophy. And say we were to do that, well, I'll show you what happens. Basically, I have a way to trigger it so I don't have to activate all the shrines. Give me a second. There we go. So all I need to do is probably go maybe here. And now I need to make a whole bunch of these. I think we need 48 of them, 49 of them. There are a lot of trophies, even if you don't take the boss trophies. So this is obviously horrible, but now let's make them rows of 5 so that we actually know what's happening here. We have 10, 20. We need 25. 30. Okay, what are we at now? That's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. This should be good, to be honest. I think this is fine. So now that we have all of those around, we should actually be able to just activate one of them. Oh, there we go. Okay, that happened really quickly. So I actually, oh god. Yeah, so Fader is basically chasing after us, and if we get hit by any of the lightning, we would die. So it would be fitting, actually, for me to die now, so... Oh! But you gotta see how Fader gets spawned. I don't even know, to be honest. What happens if the player's dead after Fader has already been triggered to spawn? I should have thought about that before I killed myself. Like, honestly. Where would that be, though? I can just guess. 1 second. Go to... It's probably like... 7,000... And then maybe negative 2,000? What's this? Mistlands, deep Mistlands. Now, let's see. I gotta get back to where I was. This is some interesting playtesting, because now, is Fader just gonna spawn on me when I get there? Because I never actually tested what happens if there's no player when Fader is triggered. I think it'll just keep trying to re-trigger him. So, give me a second. I need to find the correct point real quick. Yeah, so what's happening is I've activated all the trophies, or I'm simulating that I've activated all of the trophies. And this is what would happen to a player once they turn in that last trophy. Then it starts being possible for Fader to catch them. And in my case, it happened almost immediately. But normally it wouldn't happen that quickly. So we're at 6547. That's it. Okay, go to 65 and then negative 4700. And I'm going to put on God mode because I see now I'm just going to die and then you won't see the mechanic. That seems kind of obvious. Oh, okay, so he does spawn. He is right there. Okay. Ghost mode off, fly off. Okay. So Fader is here. And we didn't see the message because we were away. But if you look at chat, see how it says Fader found you? Fader starts flying towards JP Valheim. This is how you end Path of Magic. You get here, you turn in all of the trophies, and you kill the final boss, which is Fader. And you get to fight him on this really long octagonal arena. So if we keep going, for example, we can see that this whole area actually loops around. There are so many altars because there's like 49 trophies that you have to turn in that I had to spread it all out to make sure that there aren't too many instances in one place when someone's fighting Fader, while at the same time, Fader can run down this path, allowing players to make a Fader fight where there's a group and they just keep going down this path. I personally found that running down a path and fighting at the same time as a group, it's one of the most rewarding game experiences involving combat and other people that I've ever had. So this is my attempt to replicate that by providing an environment where people can just go in a loop like that, because normally you can't just keep running away from Fader, right? But in this situation, it's fine. I think he sees me, right? Yeah, he sees me. Now, what's interesting, on Path of Magic, okay, the bosses are all a lot stronger. Genuinely much stronger. But I think because I wasn't near the player, I didn't see if this is a normal Fader or a special Fader. He looks very cool though. Definitely very cool. And that attack is just, I mean, let's be real, that attack is just incredible. I should probably make it so it can damage the enemies though. And I think that's it for now. You all now know this is what the Path of Magic live stream will be like. I'll be going down here, but I won't be flying around using Devcommands. And this will be a great chance for anybody to get some sort of, how do I say, brainstorming for what you want to do with your Valheim server if you're working on something like that. There's something to be said about playtesting and playing the game and doing things based on what comes up when you do that and you've been playing. I find that those are some of the best ideas. And this is a free-to-play server that's open to anybody. I actually want to test the limits of Valheim a bit, because I think that it's possible, as long as you keep the players in groups away from each other, I think that it's possible to have like a good experience on Valheim with like 12 players online if they're not all in the same place. And I think that Palm might, if I keep working with it, be able to accommodate players that are in different places at different times. But for now, actually, I guess I can do what Bal has been asking me to do. If you've noticed, there is a very spammy message in the middle of the screen. you all have the luxury of, this is a YouTube video, so I am using env clear and the like to make sure that it's good lighting and permanent TOD05. But when you're normally playing, you can't do that. So you have to deal with the dark and the daytime and all that kind of stuff. So if you've noticed, there's all these icons, and that happens when it's about to start turning to night or daytime. So when day is about to end, you get the moon icon. When the night is about to end, you get the day icon. It was purely a test. It's not actually something that needs to be there. So what I'm going to do is do what Val asked and disable it. All I have to do is go into the scripts. Here is the day-night messenger. And what we're going to do is get rid of the part that tells the players something. Just like that. So now it'll still happen, but it's just going to show it in chat, and it's not going to show it in the middle of the screen. And that's still pretty spammy, so it'll probably still end. I'll just delete it. But for now, there we go. I got to end the stream by actually doing something with Expand World Prefabs. And I guess for now, I'll just chill here for a moment. And if any of you listening, because I see there's actually like 7 of you, and there's been like 5 or 6 of you the whole time. That's awesome, because I was fully expecting to just not have anybody here. So if any of you listening want to ask any questions, if you have any suggestions about what to do on this live stream or anything you want to see, then let me know. I am in a position I can chill here for a little bit, answer any questions you all may have, and then I'll end the stream. And just to be clear, this is the only stream that I'm like flying around and showing stuff. When I actually do the live streams, it's going to be completely from the player's perspective. So I won't be able to just get out of situations so easily. Really? Come on, man. Leave me alone. Another mechanic. So ticks get converted into seekers on Path of Magic. So Zhal are like genuinely tough enemies. They've also been changed so that, let me change this. So I'll go God, but Ghost off. If we keep running, we should get Tangled. Just need to wait for the Zhal to do its thing. Oh, a tough tick? That sounds horrible. There we go. Yeah, so Zhal are like horrible endgame monsters. As you can see, normally if you get entangled, you would just die. But the Zhal can entangle you, it has a really strong blast attack, and it summons more than just ticks. There's a lot of sort of changes just like that. And let's see, Jake in the bushes says, so it seems like the ears of enemies are enhanced. On my body I cleared a crypt and got Surtling cores, but now going for the core, it feels like hordes spawn on me. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly quite messy. There are actually situations where the player gets tattled on, and then you aggro everything, basically. So, wow, these monsters nakeded me, those bastards. 1 second. So, let's see if I might be able to make it trigger, actually, if I spawn Odin. 1 second. Yeah, he tattled on me. Okay, here we go. So, Odin shows up, and he may help you or hurt you, but probably he's gonna hurt you. And he does something called tattling. And once you've been tattled on, then you aggro everything. So, Jake, if Odin showed up and then you went into a crypt, it would aggro everything onto you, probably. So it sounds like maybe something happened with Odin. But then, yeah, this, you see this? They're coming to get me. It's so insane. Like, the tattling is ridiculous because you're just chilling, and then suddenly the monsters just come out of the woodwork and come and get you. Honestly, it's absolutely crazy. I'm gonna move out of this area though, because it's got a bunch of combat and stuff and is kind of laggy. The Mistlands is like that for me in general, to be honest. Mistlands and Ashlands can be kind of laggy, but that's okay. I'm making it work. Alright, I'm gonna turn Ghost back on so I don't get covered. Let's see. So, Rack and Sprockets. Yeah, I'm just talking about ending. You know, I don't always do exactly as I say I'm going to, so apparently it's fine. Ah, okay, and you have a clip of interacting with Odin. I see. Well, that definitely explains why everything got aggroed. I guess I can also show another thing. So, for example, if you get, like, flame metal armor, the, you know, best armor in the game, you become a constant aggro magnet. So that's another thing people might get surprised about. There's actually a lot of set bonuses on Palm. There's buffs to most of the heavy armor sets, so that they have, like, certain bonuses and that sort of thing. That... yeah, that's right. I should fix that. 1 second. It's hilarious to see them all right here. So I'm gonna end this so we don't end up spawning Fader on somebody. You would never actually see it like this as a player. What happens to players is that they turn in the trophy, right? If I do the trophy for the vulture, they turn in the trophy right here, and then that makes one of those things, and something is watching to see how many of these things there are. And that is how Fader ends up showing up. But for now, I'm just going to disable all of them because nobody's actually at this point in the game. And probably I'm going to be the one to get here and show people this mechanic. And we also still have Fader running around. That's actually a problem because when Fader spawns, there's like a timer. So the timer... Fader only has one wing? I never noticed that before. Huh. So that didn't work, which is kind of bizarre. Huh. But I think that's about it. Let's see. Discover the sets. Yeah, some people like certain ones a lot. Yeah, so I seem to have done something that messes up time on the server. So time is flowing faster than it should. And to be honest, I didn't actually even know that that was possible. Let's see. Gonna get rid of Fader. No more Fader. And let's see, actually, because normally Fader should spawn, and then we should get like a special message. Yeah, see, alone JP Valheim against Fader. Loki grants you a mere 10 minutes. Very interesting. So for some reason, that didn't happen before. Maybe because I died, so I wasn't there. So it just spawned normally. I don't know, though. That's kind of weird. Also, it's very weird that the time of the server is going faster. Maybe it's because I'm online and I have like a set time of day or something. But the others on the server are saying that the night and day cycle is going really fast. And it is. Like, I saw that the things were triggering faster than they should. But I didn't think anything about it. So, I have no idea what that's about. But maybe we'll figure that out at some point. And for now, that's it. If you want to learn more about Path of Magic, then feel free to join the Poolside Discord. You can find the link in some of my YouTube videos, or you can check out Splash of Pain's YouTube channel or Captain Crumb's YouTube channel, and then get the link there. Ah, so Pan says it started when the day and the year reset. Interesting. Yeah, so on Palm, there's years. So instead of just like you log in and then everything is day through 3,500, it goes, it's day 70 of year 35. So ever since Palm started, that was day 1 of year 0. And I did it that way for a couple other reasons. But now something weird's happening, so we'll have to figure that out. And I don't even know how this is happening, because I was under the impression you can't speed up or slow down the passing of time. So does this mean that that's wrong? Because this is the passage of time speeding up, which I think logically means that we can probably make the passage of time slow down. Ah, you can? Is it a world modifier? Maybe a key just got set. How do you speed up the time, Rack and Sprocket? Is it a upgrade world command? I've never done that. Sorry about this. I'll give you a second. It's a console command, huh? Let's see. Look it up real quick. It does sound vaguely familiar, actually. Valheim, speed up time. I know how to change time. Time scale. Is there a way to look at the time scale, like the current time scale? So 0 pauses the game. I guess this would... Or does it not pause the game? Oh no, I see, it pauses the time scale. Oh, okay, so the actual time scale then is 1, right? I think that would make sense. 1 is probably... Well, I'm gonna assume that 0 is no passage of time. And that 1 is like normal passage of time. So I'm just going to set it to 1. But also that is very confusing because I didn't change that setting in any way. But who knows? I guess I learned something new now. Thanks for showing me that. And I think now that is the end for this stream. So if you want to support my work, then consider checking out my... Wow. Sorry, a hen just jumped on me. You can probably hear her, actually. Do you want to squeak? Yeah? I don't know if you can hear her. You can't see her, but there's a chicken on my shoulder. Pan says it's even faster now. Wow. Anyway, if you want to support my work, then consider renting your own dedicated Valheim server. I have neglected to annoy you all with the banner at the top of the video, because this is a live stream. So I'll have to figure that out. Still got a lot more to learn about this live streaming thing, but I'll figure it out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Server's restarting, so I'm getting kicked off now anyway. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.